I want to welcome everybody. This is study number 22 and the 10th study that I'm going to be doing. Just for some clarification, for people online, the camp meeting that we're having here is in two parts. Part 1 concludes today and part 2 begins on Monday. Second presentation for today will be a Q&A. If you're online, feel free to send me your questions, but they may or may not be answered. You should all online have the schedule for the second camp that we're doing here. All good to go? Let's begin with a word of prayer. Holy God, we thank you that you might guide, bless and direct us so that we might come to a clearer understanding of end-time prophecy, so we might understand what the historical events that are being fulfilled today really mean to us. So we might not misread the events of history fulfilling before our very eyes. In Jesus' name, Amen. In our study yesterday, it came to light that there was some confusion, and the confusion, as it seems to me, was based upon some language barrier, some translation issue. There was a question that says, why isn't point 2 too far away from point 1 if point 3 is too far away? So, when we began discussing the relationship between the past, present and future, which is given to us from Revelation 17, it's not a new point or observation that was made at this camp. It's been addressed before. I've spoken about it before. I'm guessing it was in Canada. And without going into the details of what was discussed in earlier presentations, earlier at different camps, the point that we all need to begin to manage in our studies, that it's problematic, difficult, dangerous, you decide what word you want to use, When you start taking the past, those stories, and you try bringing them into the future. So an example, when we speak about the threefold union coming against God's people, Herod, Herodias, Salome, John the Baptist, Ahab, Jezebel, the priests of Baal, and the prophet Elijah. Thank you, I forgot. So you can't take those histories and bring them into the present without being extremely careful, because those stories create mental pictures in your mind which create biases. So that concept that has already been taught was brought to bear in our study of Revelation 17. And the way it was described now was in the following way. We have a prophecy of the end of the world. And this is at the end. We can get a lot of information about the end of the world through the symbology that's given in this picture or this story. We've already said this is Revelation 17. Once you extract as much information as you can from these symbols, from this story, you will come to the point where you can go no further. Once you get to that point, you'll realize that you don't have enough information to understand what the end will look like. And the problem that most of you are having is that you already think you know what the end looks like. From three sources. Adventism. We'll do it in order. Ellen White, Adventism, and teachers from this movement. And by and large, most of them, especially the first two, are wrong. So all these assumptions about what you think the end of the world looks like you should approach in a very careful manner, because it's likely to be wrong. So you're at the end. You can't go any further. You need to find some clues or some information from elsewhere. So you'll end up going to number 1. So I'm just going to disconnect for a second. And we're going to call this the beginning. So you're going to go to other stories in inspiration, and these stories you need to pick very carefully. And there will be a link or a connection between the start and the end. But like Ahab, Jezebel, and those priests, those stories that you read, you can't take them and just bring them into the future. To do so exposes you to danger. Danger of making mistakes. So what you find is that the start is too far away from the end. To be used, I'm going to say simply. So I'll give you an example. I don't know what the end looks like. Revelation 17. But there are teachers in the movement who say the following. The United States was good, becomes bad, and in the midst of all that turmoil, this person rises up to political fame, and is going to begin to change the political norms in that country. So that's what people teach in the movement. And the question you need to ask yourself, how do you know all of that based upon a story around 3,000 years ago that happened in Iraq, when a king made a golden statue and told everybody to bow before it? That real life story 3,000 years ago is so far away it has no relevance for today. So I use the term too far. Then, so I'm saying that the beginning is too far from the end. We have another part of this story or this structure which we've called the present. And I've taught that the present can be used to explain the future. And the way you do that is by connecting the start to the present. So we did this using numbers. Past, present, future, 1, 2, 3. And the sequence is you go from number 3 to number 1. Then you go from number 1 to number 2. and then you go from number 2 to number 3. 3 steps. 3 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. And we've spoken about this, so I'm not going to repeat what we've discussed. So we know that this is too far. And we know that this is close. So the question was, if 1 and 3 are too far apart, and 2 and 3 are very close to each other, why isn't the second waymark too far away from number 1? So I'll do this, too far, with a question mark. So in the studies, I said it's not too far. All of that was fine, except when it's getting translated in certain languages. So, far and very far and too far mean different things. So if I use the word far and relate it to the word near, we can conceptualize what that means. If you started here, that would be near, and that would be far. Near and far. Then you have the phrase very far, which should be even further away. In some languages, there's no distinction made between very far and too far. And so, in English, too far means impossible. It doesn't mean very far. So I hope that's cleared that up for people who are non-English speakers. In number 1 here, this is impossible, I believe. And number 2 is possible. So I'm saying 1 to 3 is impossible, and 1 to 2 is possible, but hard. Any questions on that? So, why is it possible to get from 1 to 2? That's the question that we asked yesterday. And we had numerous answers. We had many answers. The reason why it works is because when you look at number 3, a TV celebrity becoming the President of the United States, who's going to fundamentally change, or is attempting to fundamentally change, the social fabric of the United States and the world. If that's what the end looks like, I don't believe you can get that from the beginning. Why? So why is 1 to 3 impossible? So the question is, why? And the answer is, they look too different. They look so different, you won't be able to connect the two together. Without using bias, misreading, or listening to other people who have biases. Put your hands up if you're not okay with what I've just said. So I'm presuming nobody would disagree, but you might not understand. No issues with that. Okay, so 1 to 2 is possible, even though 2 and 3 on the scale are basically next to each other. So if we were to draw it to scale, we've got a line here which is 3,000 years long. 1 and 3. Where would 2 be on that scale? They'd be next to each other. So I would put 2 and 3 there. We'll just make the line a little bit wider. They're next to each other. You can't see the difference. Anybody don't understand what I've just done there? Put your hands up if you don't understand. So someone said they don't understand. When we've drawn this previously, I've done it this way. 1, 2, 3. 1 to 3, I've said is 3,000 years. But in real life, it's not that. Do we agree it can't be that? Because you don't know. What you do know is... Does anybody know what you do know? The time between number 1 and number 2. You know that. Because you know the date when number 1 happened and you know today's date. Does that make sense? And you know, this is just a random number. That the difference between 2 and 3, we'll just say, is 5 years. We'll do 4 years. It could be 10 years, I don't know. If you were to draw that to scale, it wouldn't look like this, it would look like this. 2 and 3 would be so close together, They'd look like one line. Anybody not understand that now? Okay, so why is 1 and 2 possible and 1 and 3 are not possible? Because they look similar. Because we've taken characteristics of number 1 using the theme of number 3, and we have that knowledge base, and we have, say, 4 points. Maybe we won't get to 4. Let's shout them out. So this is number 1, the start. Go ahead. Characteristics. Shout. Just one word or one little short phrase. You still don't understand what I've done?
Before
Just tell
before
me
you
what you
go
don't
forward,
understand.
yes, I'm just trying to see if I understand what you have said there.
Carry on.
So before you go forward, are you saying that 1 and 3 they are impossible because of they are two different? And when you look at 1 and 2, there is it's possible because of we know the time span because of we are speaking about the present on 2.
No.
And it means I don't
The time span isn't what the issue is. In number 1, when you look back to that history, that society looks so different from our society, you can't connect them together. That's what the issue is. So that's the element of time. But when you come to number 2, it's because of the following. You have characteristics from number 1 that you can see being fulfilled today, even though the societies are very different. Curtis, I still want the characteristics.
Is the reason why 2 works and 3 doesn't because of what we're using number 2 for? In my mind, number 2 works like a translator. Number 1 and number 3 are talking different languages. And number 2's job is to translate number 1 into a language number 3 can understand. Number 3 can't understand number 1 on its own.
If that helps you, then that will work. that logic is valid. If that helps anybody to understand what is going on. Characteristics. Don't just all shout. I just put your hand up and I'll point to you. You've got the mic, so go.
Legality. Legal.
Law is legal. Oh, you mean there's a law? I'll put that, but that's wrong. Justina, just shout. Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Oh. There's a king. There's a government. What this exercise is not brainstorming. It's remembering what we've already taught. Please don't go to Daniel 3 and start brainstorming all the what you read in the story. We've done that. I want to know the characteristics of 3 that you're going to bring into the future. They have to be very specific, and they have to be, I'm going to call it in English, a tight definition. So you can't just say law, because there was a law there. And no one's going to say statue. Sorry? There's an internal crisis. Catherine. I've got government, so I'm going to put 2 factions. Tata, shout out. War. Take the mic. How do you define war?
Okay, with war, I'm thinking of different kingdoms being overthrown.
In Daniel 3, name the 2 kingdoms that are fighting with, that are at war with each other.
Okay, maybe someone can help me with this one.
They won't be able to help you because there aren't 2. Sorry.
In Daniel 3, nah?
There was an election in South Africa.
Yes.
Political parties were fighting. Would you call that war?
I would call it it's a power struggle. I could say that.
So I can't remember your name.
I just wanted to help Tato when you asked.
You wanted to help Tato? Help him.
I just wanted to say there are 2 powers contending each other. Like God's kingdom against Satan's kingdom.
That's what we've got 2 powers fighting together. Now carry on.
God's kingdom and Satan's kingdom.
God's kingdom, Satan's kingdom. In the story, Daniel 3. Name who Satan's kingdom is. I'm going to put this here. The government.
Yes, on the side of King Nebuchadnezzar.
So I've got Satan and I've got Nebuchadnezzar.
Yes,
And Satan fights against God.
yes.
And who's that?
What side they are Israelites? The three Hebrews.
We'll call them, they're men, but we'll call them the three boys. What nationality are those boys?
They are Hebrews.
Hebrews.
Yes.
Can you name one of them? Or all three of them?
Meshach,
Shadrach,
Shadrach, and Abednego.
Meshach. Don't help her. Help her. Abednego. Can you tell me what their Hebrew names are? Don't help her now. Don't help her.
Hananiah. Mishael. I forgot the other.
So she named two of them and couldn't remember the third. Doesn't matter. The point I wanted to make, you called them Hebrews, but you only know their Babylonian names. You don't even know their Hebrew names. They've gone through a training process to become Babylonian officials. And you've been trained in your theological experience to know that they're Babylonians. That's why you remember their Babylonian names, not the Hebrew ones. We haven't made this up. It's in the story. You ask any child, they'll only know their Babylonian names. Because that's the way the story has been constructed and given to us. We're not children, we're adults. So we know as children, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And then what we do is we get confused with the other name, which is what? There's not three of them. Daniel. What name is Daniel? What nationality? We're not sure. Hebrew. Because it says the book of Daniel, the book of the Hebrew boy. It's got Curtis on the brain. She meant something else. His name is not Daniel, but we'll leave that point. So, by the way, is Daniel in this story? Well, that's a surprise. Because God's trying to show us. Anyway, we'll leave that. There's three boys. Who are those boys? Hebrews or Babylonians?
They are Babylonians.
Good. If they're Babylonians, they're part of Satan's kingdom. In the way you've framed it. So it's not God. It's Satan. It's Satan against Satan. Nebuchadnezzar against three boys. So I'm really glad that you wanted to help Tato, because in doing so, he's helped you. So thank both of you. Because if the two of you have been helped, other people have been helped, because others have misunderstood this too, I'm sure. So someone said government, someone said two factions or two elements in the government, and someone said internal crisis. So we've put Satan here, but let's just put Babylon. So what we can do is take some elements that there's a government, two factions, and we know in the story that one of the factions is higher than the other one. It's internal crisis. And these two elements are fighting with each other. And everything's legal. It's ugly and brutal, may be wrong, but it's legal. It's not against the law. Catherine.
Hello, testing. Just wanted to ask whether we can add nationalism as well to the list.
So, go on then. So it's on record.
I think that's valid, but personally I would put it under one of those three: government, internal crisis, or power struggle.
I've got a space here, so I'll put nationalism. Can you define what nationalism is?
It's devotion to the nation that you are part of. Devotion.
Devotion to the nation.
Or perhaps worship of the nation.
I need more than that. I'll suggest something. You tell me if you like this one. I call it kingdom. The kingdom can do no wrong.
Yep.
Okay? The reason why I want to do that, what was your definition?
I gave devotion and worship of the nation.
I don't want to put a religious element in it. You want to put devotion to the kingdom. Because I could use the word patriotism and you could do the same. And I don't want to do a compare and contrast for the two, but they're different. So we'd need something that's specific to nationalism. And I think it's this bit. You're only going to get this nationalism bit by going back to Daniel 2. You won't find it in Daniel 3. Because you don't have enough information, I don't think. That's why I was reticent to put it in. So if you didn't understand that little dialogue, don't worry. I don't want to make a big issue of it. But I'm not going to use nationalism when we go into number 2. Because I don't think you can get that from number 3, from chapter 3 on its own. We'll take Jermaine's question, but I just want to summarize. The question is, if 3 is too far, why isn't 2 too far? Too far means impossible. It's because the relationship between 1 and 2 is definable. You can define the relationship. And the reason you can define it between 1 and 2 and you can't between 1 and 3 is because you can see number 2, but you can't see number 3 because it's in the future. You can definitely see number 1, but it's number 2 that you can see, and that's why it's not impossible. We've got the phrase look similar. See number 2. And then I just said, what are the characteristics? So there's an internal battle. I'm going to add one because nobody did this one. Superpower. We know it's a superpower because when this is happening, who has been destroyed? Just shout out. I said superpower. How do you know it's a superpower? Because who's been destroyed? Someone said the glorious land. Is the glorious land the right answer? No. How do we know it's a superpower? Who's been destroyed? No. Egypt. Egypt is always the problem. The Assyrians had to be taken down, but the Assyrians were an internal fight between two rival families. And the glorious land is always just an anomaly. It's not even a big issue, really. It's more an issue of logistics than anything else. So we know it's a superpower because Egypt's already been taken. So there's I've got some summarizing. There's a superpower, and there's an internal power struggle. I'll redo that. There's an internal political power struggle. And that power struggle is being handled legally. superpower, politics, a struggle within politics that's legal. Now, the way we've described that is generic. So, all we need to do, look today for those characteristics. If you can see them, then number 2 and number 1, not too far apart. If you can't see it today, prophecy is not being fulfilled yet. You mean? We should turn the camera on the people so they can see.
Alors, on the list, number 1, we put legal. But it seems to me that we talk about politics. You just mentioned it. And I wanted to ask the relationship between legal and politic in that story. Et je why we use legal instead of politic, or I don't know how to frame it, but yeah, legal and politic.
We use the word legal. I can just give it to him. Because Curtis had an agenda. Because he wants to make sure we know it's legal. Because he doesn't like illegal. So that's why it's there. That's why it's there. So what it means is that this struggle within Babylon, the superpower, is not the third estate. Third estate, like the French do. Oh, I did it again. I don't know in French. Okay, forget that. This is not a fight between the government and the people. It's a political fight. And the way that fight's happening, there's a constitution, and everybody's abiding by the constitution. That's what politics mean. That's what legal means. So I'm going to let Curtis, because it was his word, to describe it the way he wants to.
I don't have much more to add to that. I think when people look at Nebuchadnezzar's acts, they look at his command to make people bow down. With their perspective of what's right and wrong, as opposed to looking at what the Constitution of Babylon says, and seeing what is legal and illegal to do. And Nebuchadnezzar being the king, the maker of laws, we can demonstrate that he's following the rules he makes.
Did that answer your question, Shemaine? Sorry? Does anybody want me to extend this a little bit further? If I do it, I'm going to do it through Curtis. If you're okay with that. So this may or may not work because we haven't practiced enough. So, if what he said was correct, and it's politician with politician, so at the end of the world, this world that we're living in, if we had this scenario, the administration is ordering, I call it the police, we'll call it ICE, to go to street corners to go to a car wash and pick up illegal immigrants. So, this is what you see, Curtis. Is this a fulfillment of the prophecy that we've been talking about?
From my perspective, yes. Because if we look at today, we need to figure out, is what the administration doing legal or illegal?
So let me stop you. Administration equals what?
Government.
Is it double M? Immigrants equals what?
Citizens.
In this story I've given, is administration fighting against the immigrants?
No.
So, carry on.
What the administration is fighting against is the workings of said government. How the government deals with citizens. There's a faction within the government that says, let's behave in a certain way. And there's another faction within the government that says, no, we should behave in a different way. The citizens are, what's that word? That's like,
Collateral damage?
yeah, the citizens are collateral damage to this fight between the two factions within the government. That are fighting between shaping the direction of the country. Yeah.
if you go to Daniel 3, and we've got all of these labels, these characteristics, you can get a little story to see what 3 looks like. Bring it to the present, and you have to look for those characteristics in real life. And as you can see, it's not that straightforward to do. But once you see it being done, then you can know whether or not you're making the correct application or not. You say more?
I was going to go to Daniel 3 and demonstrate.
J'aurais été dans Daniel 3.
So in Daniel 3,
Dans Daniel
all the governors of the different states within Babylon are called to the plains of Jura for a meeting.
sont
And Nebuchadnezzar decides to tell them, this is what I want Babylon to look like now. So that when you governors go back to your states, you can run the kingdom the way I want you to run it.
vous allez
Then those 3 Babylonian boys
puis
say, we don't think that's right.
on dit non,
It should be run a different way.
ça doit être
And Nebuchadnezzar uses the law to punish them.
Any questions?
That is why Curtis said it is legal, because it's in the law. What Nebuchadnezzar is doing is in the law. C'est pour ça que Curtis dit que c'est légal, parce que Nebuchadnezzar va utiliser ce qu'il fait, c'est dans la loi, c'est pas contre la loi.
Yes. Even though that may not have been even the purpose of, I'm going to call it the Constitution. Yes, because the laws are designed to be good. And everybody defines good in a different way. Which is why it can appear illegal only because you, whoever the you is, think it's bad. But it's legitimate or legal. So I know we've still got some hands up, but we've run out of time. Let's close with prayer. Holy God, we thank you that we can be guided and directed by you. May it be our desire, our purpose to serve and honor you. There are many ways to do that, but in this context, it's about applying ourselves to the study of your word. Give us a desire to be able and willing to talk to one another, to wrestle with each other, and like Jacob, to even struggle with you. We pray that you would give us the blessing that he received. In Jesus' name, amen.